You ready? Yeah. Okay. Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting of the Birmingham Planning Board for Wednesday, March 11, 2026. Could we please call the roll?
Al Klein, Robin Boyle, Stuart Jeffries, Bert Kozak, Daniel Sher,
Here.
Janelle Wolf-Boyce,
Here.
Brian Williams,
Here.
Duncan Curry,
Here.
and Zimmerman.
Here.
Okay, so we have a quorum counting our two alternate members, 5 in attendance. This is a meeting typically dedicated to study sessions. There are 3 items on the agenda. The first thing we'll do, however, is to review and approve the minutes of the regular meeting of January 28th, 2026, not 5.
I move to approve the minutes of January 28, 2026 as presented.
Support.
Motion support. Any discussion of the minutes? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, my comments again, 3 study session items on the agenda and a pre-app discussion at 126 South of Woodward, which we will take first initially so that you don't have to stay through some of our study sessions. So do you want to start, Nick, or do you want the applicant to just address?
Yeah, please. Just a brief overview, which is
Okay.
basically a regurgitation of my memo. But Snap Taco is a new food and drink establishment in town. They've been open for, what, 3 months, 4 months now? It was always in their plans to seek a liquor license, and one of the only ways to do that here is through the bistro process. So they kind of muddled their way through, I guess I'll say, the city commission, and only recently did they get moved forward through the initial bistro screening to apply for a special land use permit. One of the key critical pain points in that initial bistro screening was the outdoor dining. It's a tough spot of town. Their initial proposals, they envisioned a platform in the street, but it was very clear that the city commission did not want to entertain a platform in that particular area. So they've flexed to a couple of things, and this is what they've landed on. So what they're here today to ask you about, because it's frankly a critical part of their bistro application, outdoor dining, as required for the ordinance, are some, just to get some feedback on the patio itself, the design, the placement, anything else that I may have missed. Generally speaking, ordinance-wise, looks pretty good. They've got a big clear path over 5 feet. It's 12 chairs, which is well below the 65. The only sticky point is its location in front of the adjacent storefront. So they will need to get the approval of the property owner, who will, of course, consult their tenants, which they're doing as we speak. So they're just here to get because they want it to be smooth on the 25th as they're scheduled right now. They just want to get some feedback so they can take it, refine it if necessary, and come back to you with something really nice. So with that, I guess, Mike, if you want to add anything?
Let's hear from the applicant. If you can come to the microphone. You're
just any extra color, any extra.
You're live on local TV.
Just name and who you are.
So introduce yourself, please.
I'm Michael Lico. I'm actually a resident of Birmingham, 2235 West Maple. I lived here for a couple of years. Prior to that, Traverse City. This is my second job, just so you know. So I'm an engineer by day, and I work with my partner, Platone, who's also the owner of Snap Taco in Lake Orion and Cantina El Dorado in downtown Auburn Hills. So we have a lot of history between the two of us with restaurants in different areas, different types. I lived in Mexico for 10 years too, so I have a lot of history there, and my wife's Mexican. So that's kind of a quick background of us as business owners. Like Nick said, we've tried a lot. Before we even signed our lease, we worked with the landlord, and our landlord is the same owner of the building for Faraday. So it's the same owner. In part, when we reviewed this initially, was that we just needed the owner's approval, but he's requesting the tenant's approval along with that, which is fair. We understand that. So we're working with them. We've worked with the city commission. Like I said, we had 3 different options that we laid out. One would be parking in the platform in the street, similar to what we see right across the street here. We had a more permanent type of area kind of like similar to what you're seeing there. And then we had one table in the entranceway to meet the requirements of outdoor seating, because we only have 32 seats inside. So ideally, the more seats we can get would help us out tremendously with the business. So after 2 meetings with the city council, they approved this concept. We worked with Nick, again, a couple more times, and we came to this final concept here, which allows for access to the street, to the parking meters. We removed the barriers on the sidewalk side, so that way it allows for a little bit better flow of the people walking up and down the corridor.
Can I ask a question? What's spatially, how much room is there to walk?
7.5 feet about.
Okay, so you're good there.
Yeah, originally we had 5, which was the minimum, but we took out the front side there so we could get a couple more feet there.
Okay,
So again, we're trying to figure out the best way where we can allow for the flow of people through the area. We give enough room on either side of the meters so the people parking there can get to the meters and up to the main sidewalk. Now, as a business owner and sitting there and watching the people walk through there and being from the city, most of the time people don't walk in that area, because that's that area that's the rough part of the sidewalk that we're putting the tables. You know what I mean? There's 2 different textures.
The aggregate is there.
Yeah, the aggregate, and then you have the smooth. So what we're putting is an area that's kind of more of just a pathway from the parking up to the sidewalk. Most people don't walk there because, and the issue that we have is there's a permanent planter right in front of our window, right here. So we can't put anything right, if we could, we would move it down, but there's a planter with the tree there that we can't do anything about. And you kind of see it maybe a little bit better in the rendering here. So the planter is right in front of us. So we had to try to work around that, and this was the option that we came up with.
okay. So I'm going to turn to the board for questions on the design and the layout.
Go ahead.
No?
Thanks. Few things.
Yeah.
I think it looks great.
Thank you.
I appreciate your number of chairs not being too many. I think your architect did a great job. I'm not familiar with them, but they did a really good job. Your 7.5-foot wide sidewalk is excellent. I think you're going to need to have a trash receptacle out here, if I'm not mistaken, so you'll have to figure out a way to locate that within your space.
Yep.
I think when you come back to us, you should also show I believe there's a raised planter to the south of this as well, if I'm not mistaken.
It's the
Yeah, it's
same,
this
it's the
right
same
here.
thing on the other side.
The other side is
the
that,
other side
that's the
of that.
south side up there, right?
Yeah, on the other side of
Yeah.
that
Yeah, so
parking meter.
my point in mentioning it is to make sure there's enough space between your outdoor dining and the planter as far as like how close your plan comes to the raised planter on the other side would be nice to know
Okay, it's similar
For a-
to this here.
for the formal meeting.
Okay, no
I think-
problem.
Show
I
it.
think you'll be asked to show it, so
Yeah,
just
okay.
so we know where it is.
Yeah, one of the things we typically do is we like to see the layout beyond where you're specifically located, so that we will see what it looks like in the context of adjacent properties, both to the north and south.
And then my last piece of this is in the rendering, Nick, it appears there are bollards that are holding up those ropes.
Sure.
I'd like to know how you plan to attach those,
Those are on casters, the ropes or the,
the
like
bollards
stanchions that-
holding the
These
holding the
here.
ropes. Because here's where I'm going with this. In the past, I've been very hesitant to approve ropes because they're movable. because they're not rigid, because people can lean against them, because kids will hang on them, because all of these reasons. So I'd like to know a little bit more about that construction, if those ropes are rigid, if they're not movable, if the posts that are holding the ropes are attached in some way to prevent them from being movable. Those are the sort of things I'll ask, and want to know a little bit more detail about how they're put together. And if the answer is they're all movable, then I'll probably wish you had something more rigid there to protect your guests from going into the street.
Okay.
So, those are my
Originally, we had a
comments.
different layout, and with the reviews that we had, it was requested from other people on the team that we go to this type, that way.
Ropes?
That
It was
way-
a fence, it was a metal fence, and we thought, it's just going to get beat to holy heck by cars. But if you're suggesting that these bollards just be fixed to the concrete, like those posts would have
I
been,
guess I have the other concern that cars will be hitting ropes, hitting chairs and pedestrians in their seats. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah, I
the
mean,
idea of a more rigid material seems more appealing to me, and not something that has the ability to be moved either towards the cars or towards the diners by cars.
Yeah, these, the planters themselves are on wheels, and then the wheels come up, so then they sit down.
Yeah, the planners are great.
Yeah. So one of the ideas is hook the ropes directly to those, so we don't have like stanchions, we would have the ropes directly to the planters. And that's one of the things we're working on.
It's wood
We can go to a
slats.
fix, like I said, the reason we moved away from the road a couple feet and moved it in line with the meters. Again, under the assumption that there was studies done that distance the meters away is a good depth for where vehicles come up to the curb, they're not gonna hit anything. So that's why we put it to the meter forward. If you want, we can do fixed. And that's kind of what we're here for. We're trying to understand what the whole team's looking for, and we can put, like I said, we had a rendering of it fixed. I don't know if you
yeah,
have that.
I don't have it, but it's like
Yeah.
a metal fence.
Let
like
me
you see.
also suggest that there's an alternative, which I've seen in another city, which is using planters and wood slats that will insert,
Good idea.
they're removable, but they're better protection. Wood slats fit into the bollards, and when you're done and it's wintertime and everything, you just slide them out.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, you could
Would
probably
that
find
be-
brackets.
would that
And then that's better protection from the cars, and kids are not likely to try to jump rope.
Yeah, I mean, it's something just that I noticed that concerns me and that I would ask a lot of questions about probably, and have to other applicants who have proposed ropes as well, just from a safety standpoint, not just for the diners, but, you know.
But I don't know that we need permanent, but we need a stronger structure.
I think the city frowns on you probably trying to attach the
Right,
bollards to
right.
the concrete, so.
Right, that was the other reason we went away from what
yeah.
we had, so
Yeah.
that we
I
would
think-
attach it.
look-
So maybe look at it a little more, that's all I'm suggesting. But all in all, I think it's really great. I'm super excited to have you. It's a
Appreciate it.
great concept, and it's a beautiful place, and I think
you
you did a
guys have-
really good job.
Have you seen what's been like inside?
I haven't personally, I have not. But
Yet.
the space plan is really nice, and I'm excited to have you, so
Appreciate it, thank you.
it looks very good.
Dan?
So I'm a little, can you explain to me what the situation is on the west side of the outdoor dining? Are there any railings, or is it just open?
It's open, and that was to allow for more room for, there's a planter in the middle by the light post. Here, there's a light post here. So we had a planter, but we left it open, again, for the input that we had to try to keep the flow of the people walking through. Because we put a fixed point, and we're gonna be out here, pretty much where this line is, to give the 3-foot space, the amount of distance we need between the chair and a fixed railing.
That shrunk it to 5 foot, the walking path, which is where we,
So and maybe I'm not, I need to follow it.
We need to have you back by the mic, because nobody can hear you.
Sorry.
But my concern, when I've seen these outdoor spaces operating in the city with no definition, folks, the diners, tend to
Slide out.
slide out into the sidewalk, moving around. The staff isn't really in a position to ask them to move because, it's just not the way the server-patron relationship works. And that 5 foot gets cut into. So if you're saying that the planter on the north and the south extend a little bit past where the chairs are drawn. Do you know what that distance is?
That's the 7.5, which
7
distance?
No, I understand, but the difference between where the back of the chair drawn and the outside edge of the planter, within that 6'7", how much of that is the planter hanging over past where the chair back is shown?
9-10 inches,
Yeah, it doesn't look like a lot to me. And I'm just concerned that you're going to end up with, folks, kind of moving the whole thing back, particularly if the distance on the east side is tight. And once you begin to invade that outside walkway, it begins to discourage pedestrian traffic. It tends to narrow even though there may be 5 full feet, it doesn't actually, it ends up being less than that because of the natural migration of people and tables and chairs. And we've seen that in other parts of town where there's no barrier, no delineation.
I know what you're talking about.
So that's, that's of concern. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I guess we're looking at 2 options. We put a barrier there, it gives us 5 feet defined. That way the people can't move out. There's one entrance on this end of by the first table where you'd be going in and out to that area. But again, the input we received initially was, let's try to open that up a little bit. We can, with the planner, move it out just a little bit and put ropes on this side. Again, to try to define it a little bit, but be a little more flexible is an option.
Yeah. So I guess I would simply say that this is a highly trafficked area of town, perhaps, the biggest, amongst the more highly foot trafficked areas, within just a few feet of that magic corner of Old Woodward and Maple. And I personally think something needs to be done to try and protect that wide walkway.
Understood. And I would like to give an input because this was brought up in the
Yeah.
city council meeting. And we've been there since, like I said, I live here, so I walk up and down that road all the time. And we've been there full-time since June, rebuilding the location. So I did keep an eye on the foot traffic, and surprisingly, it's not as, except for Saturday night, because of all the people going down to the bar down the street. Pretty much, and that's like 9 o'clock at night. During even lunchtime, I stand out there and watch it, and more welcome. It's just my input, my perspective, because I was worried about it too, so we watched it during the summer. And then, of course, right now, it's definitely a different time of year. I just don't see the traffic, but I do understand your input, because I feel that when we walk, for example, over here, where the seafood restaurant and the Greek restaurant is, you try to walk through there in the middle of summertime, and it's very restricted.
Yeah.
And I know they may have a sign there to get off bikes and everything because of the space. So
Well-
I understand your viewpoint, and that's why we kind of came up with this. And of course, we're looking for your input, what you think is the best way to meet everybody's concerns.
We can kind of ask them to turn the corner like we did at Origins, if you recall that, Dan, where they had a strict
Yeah,
fence, and we
right.
asked them to turn the corner a bit. So we'll work together.
Okay.
I can show you that example so you can see how that worked, and then
I got a question.
Yeah, go.
I like the look of your proposal a lot.
Thank you very much.
But one thing I'd like to just support what Janelle was saying about including the sidewalk plan south of your area, because it looks like you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 cars nosing into either a planter or your space, and they have to get from their cars to the sidewalk. And we want to make sure that's not, that area, that walkway is not too pinched, that they can't get through without having to walk sideways, because it looks like you got a meter right in front of this,
Yeah,
right in the middle of this one walkway now.
If you go down to the other view, you'll see what we did is we put space on either side of the meter so you can walk up from the parking spots to get around the meter. We shrunk our area because originally we were a little bit tighter to the meters. So one of the inputs we had, we shrunk
I
that
only
down.
see one spot that's problematic.
So they're.
I'll have to walk out towards the street.
Yeah, and he gets it. That's most of what we talked about, it's most of the commission is not to crowd the things that people need to get to. So we've been working through that a lot.
Just one final thought, just based on what Dan brought up. Have you looked at possibly rotating the tables and chairs so that the backs of chairs aren't towards the street or the walkway, but rather the ends of the tables? You may lose a two-top, I recognize that, but it would solve some problems,
Okay,
something to look at.
good idea.
Okay, anything else? All right, well, we'll see you back here in a couple weeks.
Appreciate your time and thank you for listening and your input.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, thanks for
Well,
coming.
I think it's an interesting project, and I concur with the comments that you're a welcome addition to the city, so let's try to get this done in 2 weeks.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, gents.
And you know that once we're done, it has to go back to the city.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's why we're trying to push because we know it's going to be,
You want to hit the summer.
right now our time looks like May 4th, which May 5th is a good day for us, so.
Yeah.
that would be a good
Oh, my
time to-
goodness, yes.
Okay.
Great.
Well, welcome to Birmingham.
See you, gentlemen. All right.
Okay, we now go to 3 study session items, although some of them are pretty limited.
Yeah.
Study, so number 1 is zoning ordinance update. And so, Nick, I'm concerned here about, I see that the kickoff meeting is late April. The next, I think the only meeting we have in April. So let's talk about process. I know you've met with the consultant, so where is the city?
Yep.
And in particular, if you can outline, if you know to date, what kind of materials we'll be looking at before the April meeting.
Okay. Good questions. So the couple of big things that I wanted to make sure you knew, just to keep you up to speed, is that we're meeting on April 22nd. The House v. Levine team admittedly has been a little busy, and our schedules just could not line up for March, and we're missing that first April meeting. So the most convenient was April 22nd, so they're planning their kickoff trip to Birmingham for the 22nd and the 23rd. The 22nd will include a tour led by staff. We'll take them around all the parts of the city, show them all the spaces. It'll include a department representatives meeting, sort of focus group-esque, and then it'll include the planning board meeting. Sort of I guess technically a full day, but they start more around noon, half-day-ish. The following Thursday, what's planned are the focus groups, 6 or 7 of them, business owners, property owners, residents, things like that. They advised us that in those focus group meetings, they keep it relatively small, in the 10 to 15 range. You can imagine that any more starts to get a little messy. So we're going to be very strategic about that. We're currently building out what we want those focus groups to be.
How do you intend to solicit the residents to participate in that?
Good question. It depends on, so let's just use that example. Let's say there is a resident focus group. We would just blast it on everything we have. We've got a newsletter coming up in April, an e-newsletter. We've got our social media, and we've got our constant contacts. We've got city commission meetings before that we can announce it at. Any venue we can. They've been very, so in one example, in the printed newsletter that you guys will be getting in your mailboxes, we have some content in there about the zoning ordinance project to sort of kick it off, provided by House of Levine. So they're providing me all of these things. I'm tailoring them and then getting them out. So that would be the theory, is that we would just use all our, I guess, typical communication channels and see where it gets us. The other thing about that Thursday, the 23rd, that's when they would plan their open house. They're like kickoff open house. So they'll have the planning board meeting on the 22nd in the evening, and then an open house on the 23rd in the evening. I'm working on booking a space right now. I've got space reserved at the library. I don't know that that's where we'll be necessarily. I'd like to work with that team to find a good space that works for everybody. But that's point number one that I wanted to make sure you know. Dates 22 and 23 in April, important dates, all-day affairs for us. I don't know that you all need to be at every focus group, but maybe a
Well,
couple of
I think these are my thoughts. I think it makes sense, depending on how many focus group sessions you have, to have at least one planning board member present at each of those meetings.
That sounds good. And you'll
And
darn
I
well
don't want to
know,
burden
so-
us by too many, but I can certainly make one or two.
Okay.
And we spread it around so that somebody on the planning board actually hears the input coming in. It's
That sounds
important.
great. And we'll have that schedule, I believe, I've got a call next Tuesday with the team. So I believe we'll have that schedule pretty darn well set by next week. And so we'll start planning. I'm going to have a calendar built out for it. I'll include you in invites and things.
These are not
so-
going to be open meetings, so, but I think it's important that the planning department have somebody at these various meetings that takes pretty good notes on what, if there's a consensus reached on a certain item, that we know about it.
Sure, sure. We'll probably find a way to record it too, just for our own purposes.
Okay.
Question.
Another, go.
The focus groups, how many do you think there'll be?
I think we have 6 scheduled out right now.
And do you think one of them is for residents, or is that going to be taken up in the open house instead? And the reason I'm asking is if we put a blast out inviting residents to a focus group, but our focus group numbers are ideally 10 to 15 people, and you get 60 residents
Oh, yeah.
show up, then it's
Yeah.
just blowing the focus group out. So would the residents be more inclined to go to the open house in that Thursday evening?
Sure.
For their piece of it and not have a resident focus group?
It's a really good question. I'm probably going to lean on their experience a little bit, there being Halcyon Levine, in
You just
terms of
don't know yet, okay.
what types of focus groups they tend to have.
Okay.
I was a little bit spitballing with you.
Oh, okay.
I know there's going to be a business owners one and a property owners one, commercial property owners. Those are very traditional.
Okay.
The other 4 or 5, we haven't quite built
Oh,
out
okay,
yet.
understood.
Well, I guess I think I would rather have too many residents show up than to not have a resident session. I mean,
Sure, yeah. And it might be a
I mean,
particular
And
type of
frankly, you
resident.
can't have too many residents show up, I mean, in my view.
Well, one of the categories was like neighborhood representatives.
Well, the other thing is, we
So-
do have some, it's not thorough throughout the city, but I know my area of the city does have an organization with a titular head, and that person can come and represent, I think, and then convey to other property owners. Now, I don't know how many of those associations, informal, are in existence,
I don't really know either. They're all over the place.
but I know I pay dues, so.
Okay, well.
Corton Lake has one, for sure. I don't know whether Mill Pond does or not. But my area of the city, which is very near Birmingham Country Club, has an informal, at least an informal association with somebody who is theoretically president. So if you know of that, those people can be invited. And if they can't attend, they'll send somebody who will then report back to the neighbors. And this group, they typically meet in the summer, so it's a
Cool.
good way to communicate.
Cool.
Okay,
So other than those 2 dates, it's really just back-end stuff, so maybe not all that interesting, but
materials,
we got-
is Halcyon Levine going to have anything for us to review before the 22nd?
as in the packet or before the
Yes.
packet? That is a good question, too. I'll ask that explicitly next
Yeah.
Tuesday when I have a call with them, what they're planning to bring.
I mean, I would like, I don't know that I want anything specific, it's way too early for that, but I would like for them to prepare a process map or a schedule so that it's laid out for us, this is what we think it's going to look like over the next year, and they did indicate, I think, generally that it was a 12-month process. So I'd like to
18,
see
I
them
think.
sort of schedule it out. All these things are subject to change, and I understand that. But it would be nice to lay out a process that we could look at.
Yeah, they have that developed. I don't know that we would present it to you in the same structure that it's developed and what we're looking at internally. But if you're interested in the schedule, I think that's something very easily.
Yeah, well,
Done.
they can prepare one separate for just us and our involvement and how much. Okay? Anything else? Duncan?
Yeah, this is something I read a couple weeks ago about the state initiating some statewide zoning
The housing bills?
zoning requirements. Is that going to get mixed up with this?
Definitely.
Is it?
Because that's preemption type stuff. So if the state makes a law, these are not the exact bills, right? So I'm just going to tell you the gist of it. If the state passes a law that basically eliminates the requirements for single-family zoning and lets anybody in any town in any part of the state build up to 2 minimum on their sites, well, that would preempt our local zoning, and that's darn well important to understand. But I don't know. I'm following it slightly. I don't know where they are in their process. There's talk about shrinking up minimum lot sizes, ADUs. There's a bunch of stuff in there. It's pretty critical stuff. So, of course, we'll make sure they're following it as well. But I'm not sure how this is going to line up or what the likelihood that those will pass or what. I can tell you that I've gotten emails from the Michigan Association of Planning, and they are supporting that bill and advocating for that bill. So that means something, I think.
There was a parking requirement too, wasn't there?
Maybe. I'm not quite sure. So, yes.
We know that parking will be an issue.
Yeah.
So we'll deal with that in due course. Okay, anything else?
Not necessarily unless you
April
have any
22nd.
specific questions.
Okay,
Yep.
historic, number 2, Historic Preservation Master Plan, which has been adopted.
Yep, and I don't need to spend much time on this at all. You had requested, you noticed that it was adopted, and you asked for maybe a little bit of a rundown of what it is and maybe what it means, I guess. So I guess my tact here is to kind of explain to you that this was a bit of a passion project, but also I would describe this plan as a bit of a get-right master plan for our Historic District Commission, in that much of what you have here is suggesting that we just improve this on the stuff that we should already be doing. So maintenance enforcement, certificates of appropriateness, those types of things, while also bringing it out into the daylight a little bit. It's a pretty niche field of urban planning, and it doesn't get a lot of attention in broader planning circles. So this was an attempt to daylight it a little bit. So if you've read through it, if you thumb through it, it's got some background, some introductory type stuff. It's got some data in it. It does have in between 30 and 40 action items in it.
Yeah, I view goals and objectives, yes.
Yeah, same difference. Potato, potato.
I think it's important, I don't know if House Levine has seen this, but they should.
They have seen this. They've seen the Birmingham Green Healthy Climate Plan. They've even got our wayfinding plans,
Okay.
our Parks and Rec
All right.
plans. That's part of the back-end stuff we're doing now, is just furnishing them with
Okay,
everything and anything. So I'm really mostly just open to questions. There's, of course, some things that cross over through planning board. There's a recommendation in here that we work with you on the 2040 plan when it comes to character provisions and things, because it very much overlaps. But I would also argue, and you'll see in the next study session here, that this checks a box from the master plan.
Yes.
A specific recommendation from the 2040 plan.
right.
So that's really it. It was fun. I think there's a lot of energy behind it right now. And, yeah.
Any questions on it? Comments? Okay. Thank you for that. The one thing, let me go back for a second because this triggers me. The process that we're going to follow
Oh, for the
for the
Zoning ordinance.
zoning ordinance, make sure that Halcyon Levine incorporates the suggestions and requirements of the 2040 plan, which involves other boards and committees. Okay?
Sure.
Because we do want to bring them in the loop.
Yep.
Okay, item 3, speaking of the Birmingham Plan 2040 progress update.
So the tact I've taken here is just to go through this document again and check a bunch more boxes.
Yes.
To make sure you know,
Well, we've completed items.
yeah, or started at least. So there's the obvious ones, like anything that we included in the scope of work for the zoning ordinance. I've now checked all those boxes. There's just a select few down here that we've always considered more special projects that we'll tackle at another point. So I'm moving through a little bit. I'll maybe stop on a couple. There's things like study lane reduction and restriping options for Woodward. I marked that as in progress because, one, we've got a Woodward Road Diet application in, but also we're working very closely with MDOT and their consultants on their Woodward Avenue corridor plan. We actually have a meeting in a couple of weeks again to see what they've come up with, which I better see that road diet that we've asked for. So we're advocating for that. That looks like it's moving pretty well. Adjusting Elm Street, that's happening now. You saw the library buildings came down now, so they're working on going back up, and they will realign Elm Street. They've got all their MDOT permits for it, so looking good. Let's see, what else? The Sustainability Board's been established. Intergovernmental cooperation around sustainability initiatives, we've really blown those up with things like SEMCOG, U of M, Oakland County, those types of groups, our neighbors. Let's see, what's another interesting one here? Parks and Rec plan was completed. The location programming and funding for new facilities for Next, that's kind of ongoing right now, but close it seems. Special events seem to be really well off. The Birmingham Shopping District and the Department of Public Services has been having just a really good time with events and really good turnouts, all that kind of stuff. So if you saw anything in here that you had specific questions about, I was happy to answer it. But once I went through and checked all these boxes, it made me feel a lot better about our progress towards 2040.
Where are we with the state on Woodward?
On the road diet,
Yeah.
we're at least on speaking terms, I'll say, joking a little bit. We submitted that road diet checklist, or an application, formally and officially several years ago.
Yeah.
They put it on hold while they went through this exercise, this Woodward corridor planning exercise that you may have heard a little bit about. We had an open house at the library for it. I think I saw a couple of you there. So we've been, of course, attending every and any meeting related to that and providing our input, suggesting, hey, no, yeah, we want a road diet. We don't want whatever other option, A, B, C, D you've got. If it's not a road diet, we're not really interested. The concept, of course, it makes a bunch of sense. Woodward's a single highway. It'd be great if we could all work together to have a unified vision of what Woodward could be. But the way they were approaching it, they broke it up into a bunch of different segments. So like Detroit's one, Ferndale, Berkeley, Royal Oak, Huntington Woods are one, Birmingham, Bloomfield, maybe Royal Oak too, I forget, is one, Pontiac's one. So lots of different input and lots of different wants and needs in those different segments. So the way it's been turning out is, as you cross those boundaries from Royal Oak into Birmingham, Woodward could change, and then crossing back into Bloomfield, it's going to change again. And going to Pontiac, it's going to change again, which is immensely frustrating. But it's what these communities are bringing to the
In terms
table.
of a road diet, we should have a lot more in common with Royal Oak than we do with Bloomfield. I mean, Bloomfield's got nothing, almost all the way to Long Lake
Yep.
if you're heading north.
We've only just recently made them include bus service. They didn't have any bus service either. Now they have
But
to.
I'm just talking about congestion and noise.
It's a different
It's a
community
different-
for sure.
It's totally different.
But if you can imagine I would argue the Detroit to Birmingham to Corton should be pretty darn similar, in my
Right.
opinion.
Right, Royal Oak.
And if all that's between us is Pontiac, Bloomfield and Pontiac, well, maybe they should be similar too. It's what we've been trying to advocate for.
Yeah.
I'll know a little bit more later
Well,
this month when I go to those
I
meetings
think
next month.
the road diet is going to impact how we approach,
Yeah,
in the final analysis, things like the Woodward Gateways Plan,
yep,
the Safety and Beautification Plan, the whole question of the Lincoln-Woodward intersections with Adams.
yes, yeah.
All of that is related to what is the state going to do? I mean, we can adopt a plan and then anticipating what the state's going to do, and if they don't do it, it's meaningless.
Yep, and I've been here for almost 10 years now, believe it or not. And even in just my 10 years here, I've seen 3 versions of this Woodward idea go through. Like nice attempts, great people trying to move something progressive forward that have all fizzled out. So I'm concerned that this won't be any different. I like to hope it's not. As a kind of a grand optimist, I'm going to hold out hope, but you're right, it is pretty mission critical to some big, big parts of this plan. So we're pushing it.
Yep. Okay.
So I have a question.
Dan?
Nick, on, one of the things that's, one of the boxes that's not yet checked is a tree canopy improvement plan, which is under our heading. I guess
Is it?
I'm wondering why we would be particularly good at tree canopy plans. I mean, I like trees, don't get me wrong.
It's under our heading?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think it should be?
Sustainability.
I'm not
Oh,
really
I
sure.
see it.
Parks and Rec.
I think this was something that, and I'm struggling to remember exactly. Do you guys remember that Bert had a big question about this? I think this was something that Bert really felt passionate about here. I think at a high level, since we have control over the zoning ordinance and what you must plant as a part of developments, that's an angle. But also street trees, that's another angle. I think that's why. I don't think it's the only place that's here.
I think the AAA building, remember his frustration
Yeah.
with the trees being removed
Yeah,
and
yeah.
concrete being
Yeah,
poured over.
right. But oddly, just during the last commission campaign, I happened to talk to a number of residents who were passionate and not in a happy way about the trees, well, the way trees were handled in front of their homes.
Yeah.
And the lack of input that they had in it, or maybe put more accurately, their disappointment that the city refused to even listen to anything they had to say on the
Yeah,
subject.
yeah, they were at the commission a lot. They wanted to get a tree advisory board going at
So,
one point.
so it's perhaps a more hot button than we had thought when this list came together. But
Right.
but apart from, sort of a tree canopy improvement plan implies to me some things about species and paces, spacing and viability, sustainability, which maybe isn't our wheelhouse.
And I think as a short-term fix, because it was added here, I could share it with a group like the Sustainability Board and the Parks and Rec Board as a shared item, so we can all theoretically work on it together.
Better idea.
And just a
Right.
note to to what you were describing, Dan, I wonder if when those residents were upset about what they believe not being included in the trees in front of their houses, and they went and talked about it at commission and whatnot, I wonder if they did make some changes, because in the past, maybe a year and a half, I had the tree die in front of my house, and I had the exact opposite experience. So I wonder if they have a different policy in place now, because I had an arborist come to my door, talk to me about where the tree would go, what kind of trees I could choose from. Like, it was amazing. I was really
Yeah.
pleasantly surprised by how great the city was. So perhaps they've made some changes since they had some bad experiences.
Sure. I don't know if that was the impetus necessarily, or if that was already planned, but now we have like 3 or 4 certified, like full-fledged, bona fide arborists
Yeah.
now on staff, as opposed to just relying on whatever tree service company we use. So that helps a lot.
Yeah,
I think we take it just much more seriously
yeah.
now.
I think maybe so.
And I think my point, which I think everybody agrees with, is that at a minimum, we want to add some more depth and experience and qualifications than just we might have on the subject.
Yeah, happy to do that. Yeah.
Must have thought you were
It might not
arborist,
even
and
be
it
even
turns
be
out
in
you were a
progress. I gotta
botanist.
check into
Yeah,
it.
right.
Okay,
More.
anything else on that? Okay, I mean, obviously, we're going to get into great detail on the Birmingham Plan 2040, starting in April, again, revisiting it. If you don't have it, go online and get a copy and
Brush
study it.
up. Yep.
Brush it, yeah. Okay, those are the three items. Moving down the list, communication project updates. You've sent out a updated list. Any questions?
It's getting a little thin. So we're wrapping up some stuff. I know some stuff there has really endured
Yep.
and lingered, so I know I gotta check it out.
Administrative
But
approval correspondence? Zero.
Nothing.
Okay. The draft agenda for March 25th, pretty ambitious meeting. Two big items. Woodward and Maple for preliminary site plan review and community impact study, and that'll be extensive, so that'll take some time, and that's Snap Talk will be back, and then Clover Hill Park Cemetery. So my guess is March 25th will be a lengthy meeting.
I agree. I think the pre-application discussion helped with that Woodward and Maple project, so you got a bit of a
But we
vision
know that
already.
Woodward and Maple is going to
Oh, yeah.
take some time.
I think the good news is we're already almost done with traffic, too. So I know in the past, we've had real trouble with getting you answers on traffic at this point,
Yeah,
but you'll have them. So
okay.
I'm really confident about that and excited about that not weighing us down.
All right. Action list 2026, I mean, ordinance update is going to take the whole thing, so.
Yeah, remember I asked you guys if I showed you this and there's only one or two things
No.
on it, is that cool?
I-
And you said yes, so here it is.
Yeah.
So I'm going to report this to the
That-
commission.
That's
if that's
this
all right.
year's agenda.
Yeah.
We know that,
I put a couple of kind of
yeah.
token other things on here just to make
Is there
it a
anything
little
else?
more robust, but
The board wants considered tonight?
not for me.
If not, there'll be a meeting in 2 weeks with at least 3 items on the agenda for some stage of site plan approval.
Yep,
Okay?
that's the plan.
Okay. Any comments from the public? I don't see any on. So with that note, meeting adjourned, 8:19.